The other education bill that I've got is I want to try to take some strain off of our classroom teachers. Okay? Over decades, well-meaning clowns like me and other legislators have said, you know, I got a good idea. Let's incorporate X in school. Let's incorporate Y in school. Let's do this in school. Let's do this in school. And I don't have the House bill in front of me. I don't know it, but it will be easy to find. What this bill does, it basically puts a marker on the ground, and it lists a number of things that we've put in law before that I think are extraneous to math, science, English, or social studies. And say for a year, the principal or the superintendent has the right to say, we're not doing that this year. We are not going to teach X, Y. I think one of the things in there is shaken baby syndrome. There's an adoption awareness thing in there that we put in. There's swimming awareness that's put in there. Now the idea is always we're just going to roll these into PE or something like that. I believe we have to empower our principals and our local school districts to get back to education fundamentals. They're supposed to go to learn math, science, English, and social studies, have some recess, and have some PE. So hopefully we will get some traction on this because I think our education system is going in the right direction right now. Dr. Kay Brumley is a teacher's teacher. He is from Converse, Louisiana. He is not an experiment that we brought in here from New York. He is not an experiment that was brought in here from New York to try crazy things. Okay? He is country as a butterbean, but he is educated. He drove buses. He was a coach, and he knows what our teachers need. He's got a teacher's advisory board. He's got a principal's advisory board. I think if we will leave him alone, he will get Louisiana's education on track where our kids can do math, science, English, and social studies again. And so I'm going to do everything I can to support that.
Okay, we do have some cards in favor of this bill, and I wanted to go ahead and read them in. Michael Billings, of course, it says he's present and would like to speak on behalf of himself. Michael, are you here? If you will, more than welcome to come to the table, sir. Any amendment? Yes.
We could if we...
Hello, good morning. My name is Michael Billings, and this is my daughter, Casey Billings. My wife and I are not only parents, but we are also foster parents of medically fragile children, those that don't particularly have a voice. Casey was our first foster child, and we adopted her from the Louisiana foster care system. We currently also provide foster care to 2 other special needs children. Casey is 3 years old, and Casey was born a healthy, normal child. Casey had a world of potential in front of her. She could have grown up to be a mother, a doctor, a lawyer, a state representative, a governor, or even the president of the United States. All of that was taken from Casey at the age of 11 months. She was brought to the ER by her biological mother, unconscious and unresponsive. The mom claimed that a door had fell on her the day before, and when she was in the care of her boyfriend. Initial examination, it was determined she had a severe subdermal hemorrhage and fractures to both legs. Casey was not expected to live at the time. Further examination revealed that Casey had multiple previously healed fractures of her arms, her legs, her ribs, and retinal bleeding in her eyes. All these injuries are classic symptoms of shaken baby syndrome. When Casey was discharged into our care from Children's Hospital at 13 months of age, she could only turn her head. She could say hi, she could smile, and grasp with her right hand. When she was placed into our foster care, we were able to obtain a placement for her in a pediatric healthcare day center. This allowed us to provide foster care for her while both my wife and I worked. Casey required this level of care due to SIDS risk. She had a risk of aspiration of food and drink. She suffered from seizures, suffered from apnea, reactive airway disease, and required intense occupational therapy, speech therapy, and physical therapies. I'm happy to report that because of her tenacity, and now she can, chew on her shoe if she wants to, and the progress she's made, she no longer requires a pediatric healthcare day center. She's currently cared for at home and receives her therapies by medical providers. Casey, once a normal, healthy child, is now permanently impaired. She's developmentally delayed, cognitively impaired, blind, unable to sit or stand unassisted. She's unable to crawl, unable to feed herself. She'll never run on a playground. Excuse me. She'll never experience a prom, walk across stage to receive a diploma, or have me walk her down the aisle on her wedding day. Casey is going to require lifelong care due to her disabilities, all due to the negligence of a parent or a caretaker who did not know or understand the consequences of shaken baby syndrome. Although the main purpose of my testimony here today is to endorse Representative Hodges' proposed legislation, I encourage all of you to keep the most vulnerable citizens of our state in mind when you face these current physical situations that are before us this year. I thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Billings, for your testimony and coming in today.
Thank you.
Michael Billings has done a green card, indicated he'd wish to speak. It'd be hard to speak better than Representative Hodges has, but you're welcome to come speak on it. And then Carmen Wisner has indicated that she's also in favor and does not wish to speak. She's the executive director of NASW.LA. And Mr. Billings coming down with his son. We've seen him before in committee. Daughter, pardon me. I missed the pink shoelaces there.
Good morning.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for the opportunity. My name is Michael Billings, and this is my daughter, Casey Billings. My wife and I provide foster care to medically fragile children. Casey was our first foster child. She was a victim of shaken baby syndrome. Casey is now 3 years old. She was born healthy, normal child, had the world of potential in front of her. She could have been basically anything she wanted to. A doctor, lawyer, mom, senator, whatever. At the age of 11 months, all that was taken away from her. She was a shaken baby. She was brought to the hospital with severe subdermal hemorrhage and a fracture to both legs. She was unconscious and unresponsive. She wasn't expected to live from that. Further examination revealed she had multiple previously healed fractures of her arms, her legs, her ribs, and previous retinal bleeding. All these are injuries that are associated with shaken baby syndrome. Based on these healed injuries, Casey had been a shaken baby on multiple occasions. When Casey was discharged to us from Children's Hospital in New Orleans, she was basically at 13 months of age, she was basically an infant. She could turn her head, she could say hi, she could grasp your finger, and she could say her name, Casey. And that was all. When she was brought into our care, we were able to get her placed in a pediatric daycare center while we were both at work. And they provide a high level of care that she needed at the time. She was at risk for SIDS, aspiration on her food and her drink. She has seizures. She suffers from apnea. She has reactive airway disease, and she still has a requirement for intense occupational speech therapy, and physical therapies. She no longer attends a pediatric day healthcare center. It's cared for at home. She's made some improvements and receives her therapies at home, and will soon be getting them at school when she enrolls in special needs preschool next year. So Casey, who was once a normal, healthy child, she's now permanently impaired. She's developmentally delayed, cognitively impaired. She's blind. She's unable to sit or stand unassisted. She's unable to crawl, unable to feed herself. She's never going to be able to run on a playground, go to a prom, walk across stage and get that diploma, walk down the aisle on a wedding day. She's going to require lifelong care for disabilities. All of that due to the negligence of a parent who didn't understand the consequences of shaking a baby. During the debate on the House floor, it was questioned whether there's really a need to be a law to educate people on the dangers of a shaken baby. If Casey could answer that question, what do you think her answer would be? So I thank you for your time, consideration.
Mr. Billings, we very much appreciate your testimony, and certainly we see the importance of this legislation. And please don't mistake my attempt to move this meeting along as any sort of disinterest in what you have to say. We're all very interested in that, and appreciate that you're such an advocate for Casey and educating all the others on this. This point couldn't be made any better than what you've done today. Senator Cologne.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Chair. I just want to say Casey's beautiful, and we're used to her in the committee. And there's a place in heaven for you and your wife and your family for taking care of her. And we absolutely are in support of this bill.
Thank you so much.
Senator Cologne has moved favorably on House Bill 171. Is there any objection? Seeing no objection, it'll be reported favorably.